Year on year it's the same. Another WWE game is released. This time around it's WWE 2K18 and it looks nice and it's got good adverts and it's pushed down your throat so much by WWE, and you hope that maybe this time it will be as great as they promise. And it's just bad. It's just bad. So once again, you think you have to go a year without a great wrestling game to keep you happy. You think you're going to have to take up a game based on a lesser sport like basketball or football or gridiron. But you don't have to do that. WWF No Mercy has existed since Space Year 2000 and since then has been the best wrestling game available. There are always those who argue against this, so for the first time ever, I've conducted some hard, in-depth science to show you all just why and how, in proper, real detail, WWE 2K18 pales in comparison to the N64's WWF No Mercy. Let the science commence! With categories. Graphics. It's the first topic because it's the first thing you pay attention to. How nice do these two WrestleMen games look? Well, it's a pretty clear difference, thanks in the most part to the fact one came out 17 years after the other. Naturally, WWE 2K18 looks a lot better than No Mercy, what would you expect? But let's try to bring this to a more even keel, looking at each title's contemporaries for an idea of how good they look comparatively speaking. WWE 2K18 has no direct wrestling competition, but compared to other sports titles, FIFA, NBA, 2K, Madden, etc., it's all at least on par with them. In fact, thanks to the fact there aren't as many people in a ring to render as there are people on a field or rink, the WrestleFolks actually look better than those in other sporty titles, even if their faces do look weird sometimes, alright, more often than you'd hope for. Still, in contemporary circles and when you look at marquee talent, WWE 2K18 is one of the best looking games out there. WWF No Mercy had actual wrestling games to compare it to, the likes of WWF's SmackDown and Royal Rumble, ECW's Hardcore Revolution and Anarchy Rules, All-Star Pro Wrestling and WCW's Backstage Assault, even the other game from Aki, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, to name but a few. They all have their quirks, graphically speaking, but it's fair to say No Mercy lands either in the lower echelon or at most comfortably in the middle of the card. Fine animations are one thing, but the weird blocky wrestlers with eternally pained expressions really do manage to haunt your dreams. First fall goes to WWE 2K18, clean pin in the middle of the ring, 1-0. Sound. Again, this is an area it's not fair to compare the two titles directly in. One is from an era hardly used to CD audio, the other a world where uncompressed Blu-ray audio is a thing people pretend to understand. And so again, we have to turn to each title's contemporaries to figure out where they stand in the world of audio ability. Now, I did just mention CD audio, but that was the era I was talking about. No Mercy was a cartridge-based game on a cartridge-based system. A system notorious for having sound, and I quote, not as good as on PlayStation and Dreamcast. So yeah, the thuds and punches and slams and chair shots all sound fine, nothing spectacular, but it's in those entrance themes that you hear the limitations of the N64 game. Good God, man. There's charm, much as I hate to use the word, but there's no doubt about it, this is bad audio compared to the competition. CD audio's probably the future or something. WWE 2K18 obviously doesn't suffer the same problems as its opponent and takes an obvious, easy lead there. Compared to its contemporaries, it's up there. Perfect recreations of theme tunes, an awful but quality-wise perfectly fine soundtrack, slams that sound like slams, and the whack of chair shots that probably shouldn't be to the head because concussions are a thing. It's all there. The problem with 2K18 is the commentary is, and remember, this is scientific, so this is definitely the scientific term that sciences would use, utter dog shit. I mean, it's been bad for years, so it's expected, but you never can really prepare yourself for just how rushed, poor quality and thoroughly pointless it is. It serves no purpose, it adds nothing, and it absolutely ruins the game's audio. All the perfectly recreated theme tunes in the world, including Glorious, can't make up for Corey Graves sounding this bored. Second fall in an upset goes to WWF No Mercy after the commentary caused 2K18 to slip off the top rope and fall through a table. 1-1. Roster. Now we're onto a slightly more even keel for comparisons, so the storage space is an issue of course, with a cart measured in megabytes going up against a disk measured in gigabytes. It's not equal, certainly, but I've decided to sod all those variables off like a fantastic and superb scientist from the future would, and just compare each game directly. The humble N64 cartridge's 32 megabytes is stacked to the gills with some 74 superstars, divas, a referee, Linda McMahon, loads of them. You also have the ability to create your own superstars, and while you can't make a giant crab-handed purple monster like in the better SmackDown games, you can craft some realistic wrestlefolks with their proper movesets, like Rob Van Dam or S.A. Rios. Wait, what do you mean I don't have to do S.A. Rios is in the game? Oh good god, he actually is. This is superb. It's the cream of the late 90s crop, and S.A. Rios, and it's a good mix of top and mid-carders, legends, women and non-wrestling people, and S.A. Rios. It's a good set of folks with a chance to expand, even if the Big Show was missing owing to the fact he was a bit too big a show at the time of the game's release. Replaced by Steven Richards, oh the humanity. WWE 2K18 though features a ridiculous 174 unique controllable superstars, 184 if you include DLC, and then even more factoring in variations, like all of Sting's incarnations for example, and non-playable characters like Renee Young. Oh, and the ability to both create and share your best and brightest worldwide. Sure, you do have to live with a game featuring a Baron Corbin who actually looks like he has hair, and with so many legends in 2K18 it's frankly absurd that S.A. Rios isn't in there somewhere, but what can you do? There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that this is a fantastic roster in the WWE game, and while DLC does irritate, as not everyone wants to or can pay for that, what you get on the disc is more than enough. Third fall, despite run-ins from S.A. Rios, Mae Young and Chris Benoit, goes to 2K18, even if you do have to pay to walk with Elias. 2-1 to WWE. Modes. No wrestling game since 1847 has just featured singles exhibition matches and nothing else. That's not how wrestling works. Just look at the women's division, where the solution to any problem, even if it isn't a problem, is to put all active female competitors in a match together. If No Mercy and 2K18 just featured singles matches, how would we be able to recreate that? So it's only fair to see how the mode selections in each game look compared to each other. Career modes get their own category, as I see them as that damn important, so for now it's just the general modes on offer. You'll find plenty to keep your interest in 2K18's modes, from 2 to 8 competitors in the ring at any one time and all manner of different rules and stipulations to plop on top of them. Basic exhibition matches, tags and handicap matches, Hell in a Cell, TLC, backstage brawls, there's definitely plenty on show. I can't add much beyond that honestly. It's a good selection of match types, even if there's no way to beat up Jason Jordan in an Inferno match. Ah well. WWF No Mercy is an odd one. It feels right in the amount of different matches and rule sets you can invoke for your encounters. There's singles and tags, triple threats and Royal Rumbles, cage matches, ladder matches, backstage brawls, and there's no Hell in a Cell, despite it being a mainstay of WWF programming by the time No Mercy released. Ah, technological limitations. And, weirdly, the Royal Rumble match can't have a flat 30 competitors in it, instead only allowing multiples of 4, 28 or 32 as your closest. It's quirks like these, mainly harking back to No Mercy not beginning its life as a WWF game, that become a bit weird and irritating when you just want to beat Crash Holly to a pulp in your common everyday Inferno match. Ah well, again. The fourth fall makes it 2 in a row for the modern game, with No Mercy unable to bring itself to jump off the top of the cell, seeing as there is no Hell in a Cell in the game. 3-1 2K18. Careers. Nothing in wrestling game careerdom will ever compare to SmackDown 2 Know Your Role on the PlayStation, at least not for me and my scientific ways. See, this allowed myself and 3 friends to play through an unlimited career of randomly generated feuds and match types until we eventually got bored. It was great. A good career mode in a wrestling game is the thing that can keep you coming back even years after it was originally released. Long after the online servers are derelict and most of the gimmick matches have lost their allure, the business of working your way from the bottom to the top can be a lifesaver, a game saver. Something to play, I mean. Scientific, that is. No Mercy does something that no WWF or E game I can think of does. It understands wrestling in its career mode. While other games, even in the 2K series, don't just immediately end if you lose a match, No Mercy's career mode allows you to progress the story in a logical fashion by losing. In fact, you'll never see everything the career mode has to offer unless you do lose matches at certain branching points. It's not perfect to how wrestling games should be, we won't get that until people understand the allure of Kurt Hawkins and his endless losing streak, but it's the gold standard for career modes in wrestling games that should be emulated and, well, is a bit to this day. There's also the fact it's a smaller scale game than the competition, so No Mercy is able to personalise its career mode. No generic statements from wrestlers you'd expect notable idiosyncrasies from. They talk how they're supposed to, and it makes it all the more engaging as a result. On the other side of the fence, we have Captain Millionaire, Ted DiBiase's seafaring poorer brother. WWE 2K18 throws out another generalist approach to the career mode, in which you take your superstar from humble beginnings to the bright lights of relative success in the mid-card. Oh, and checks and championships and all that guff. Look, my goal in life is to be a comfortable mid-carder, so to me that's the only thing you should aim to achieve in the game too. Regardless, 2K18's career mode is absolutely fine and throws in all manner of different superstars and backstage talent to keep things interesting. All the same, it doesn't offer a personalised experience when it comes to the talent you encounter. And when Enzo Amore spouts some generic crap written for anyone to say, it drags you right out of the experience and makes you realise you're just jumping through some hoops for no particular reason. Boil it down, focus it more, make it something people will bother with. Simpler is better. Fall 5 is a victory for the plucky underdog, proving that a generic catch-all presentation just doesn't cut it against a smaller, more focused mode that, importantly, understands wrestling storylines aren't just about winning all of the time, and that things can progress with meaning and drive even when the main character finishes on their back. 3-2, No Mercy pulls one back. Controls. What is a wrestling game without the ability to make sure your overgrown child in a silly costume can hit an egotist and potential murderer in the back of the head with an open-handed palm strike? Nothing, that's what. Controls are important because there's a lot that can happen in and around the ring. You need to be sure you can actually do all of it. WWE 2K18 is blessed with the wisdom of decades of wrestling games being made for similar controllers, and as such it's settled in its ways of allowing you to do all the wrestle stuff you need to do without fracturing your pelvis or suffering a severe concussion. Unless someone hits you on the head with a pad, I don't know how violent your game sessions might get. There are some oddities, not like Golga and that lot, but generally speaking, yeah, it's fine. You can do stuff by pressing buttons and moving sticks, and that's good. Ultra Science 9000, as it has been rebranded to make it cool for the kids, has shown WWF No Mercy's controls to be so good that people actually fail to decide as to whether they're simple or complex. I've run the numbers and it's come out as such. They're deep, not complex, but straightforward enough that any old jobber can pick them up fairly quickly. Once mastered, you've got yourself a system that allows for kicks and punches and different types of grapples to move and manipulate your opposition, to specifically target non-active competitors, to taunt before dropping the elbow from the top rope, and to generally muck about in the finest traditions of wrestling manias. The N64 pad is still rubbish though. The sixth fall season always crowd-pleasing double countout, neither superstar able to really get anything over its opponent, brawling through the crowd and into that weird no man's land where they keep tables with black cotton cloths on them and sound or lighting equipment that explodes in a shower of sparks when you just look at it. Score remains 3-2 in favour of WWE. Gameplay mechanics. Some might wonder why this, easily the most important category in this whole deeply scientific test, is buried so deep in the exam. Well, that's to keep you watching, of course. No, wait, I mean it's because the science is hard to quantify, so I had to work extra hard on this one. WWE 2K18 struggles from the start. Over-engineered animations get in the way of just getting on with things, and while it does control well enough, this isn't always reflected in the action, which tends to be clunky and sometimes actively glitchy. Getting into a simple brawl is a slog in 2K18. Multi-person matches are rarely anything other than a chore, and the grappling system that should be so straightforward and satisfying often ends up with you repeating the same move over and over again because, by God, it's just easier to do things that way. As for that star rating for matches, it's a returning feature, sure, but that doesn't mean we in the science community should overlook it, especially when it makes no sense. Ostensibly there to offer a Meltzer-style match rating out of 5 stars, so not the Omega Okada scale, this feature is half-baked at best and actively pointless at worst. If it's meant to score the whole match out of 5, why do only your actions as the player have any impact on it? What's the point in that? It's a system that does not make any sense, nor does it show the player any understanding of wrestling itself. No Mercy, meanwhile, just sits back and lets you get on with it. Here's a bunch of stuff we've come up with and seen in wrestling over the years. We put it in the game and trust you to just get on with it and have fun. That's it. Little in the way of gimmickry, No Mercy instead just plays out like grade A pro wrestling from start to finish. Okay, so the computer might reverse moves way too often, but if you actually have the ability to time button presses, unlike me, you can reverse everything too. Though this does involve skill, unlike 2K18's "Hey, press the button now" prompt. From the moves in every situation, to the ability to steal an opponent's finisher, press A and B together on a strong grapple when you have a special, you're welcome. No Mercy just offers up a simple yet deep take on video game wrestling, full of variety and, importantly, fun. It doesn't try to be the TV show, but it doesn't just end up a straightforward fighting game. For that, it's worth celebrating, which No Mercy already is because it won this round in record time. Fall 7 is a squash match for the ages as crafty veteran No Mercy hooks 2K18 around the waist and German suplexes it 47 times before placing a foot on WWE's prone body, flexing its biceps and crying, "Come on, baby!" as the ref slowly counts to 3. No chance in hell. 3-all. How different it is to the previous version. I can just leave this as not very for both games and be done here, and the scientific community would celebrate me as the hero I clearly am. Really, there's very little of actual value between either game and its precursor. Lighting, graphics, different superstars, all that usual crap's updated, but beyond that it's business as usual. And that's something people tend to forget when they're looking to the rose-tinted past. Games of 17 years ago were still guilty of the same sins we see today. One way in which No Mercy does falter though is that it actually has a few little things removed. I'm guessing, which is a perfectly valid scientific technique, this is because of cartridge space limitations. All the same, WrestleMania 2000 featured better superstar entrances than No Mercy in that it actually had proper ones and they were all but removed in its follow-up. Additions like backstage sections, a better creator wrestler mode and such are nice, but the sort of things you'd expect. Removing features is very much a sin. For once, WWE 2K18 doesn't remove all that much compared to the previous game, barring some specific talent. It's not like in the early days of 2K's WWE games when it featured approximately 2 game modes and 3.7 superstars. The 8th fall is closer than anyone expected as they are forgetful of the past, and so the perfect audience for the real-world WWE which repeats stories more often than I do to my girlfriend. There's the slightest of slips from No Mercy, what with it removing full entrances, and that puts it on the back foot. A schoolboy roll-up later and 2K18 bags the cheap victory. 4-3 WWE. In-game purchases. You'd expect a definite victory for No Mercy here, seeing as though it came before the era of loot boxes and 2K18 is a game full of evil, money-sucking random drops that reward bank balances over playing time. Except it's not that simple. See, for one, 2K18 doesn't actually charge real money for its in-game credits, so everything, almost everything, is earned through regular play. Second, No Mercy featured a very similar system of earning in-game credits to buy unlocks. Put that in yet, games were better in the past, pipe and smoke it. It does go a bit further than that shocking revelation, of course. WWF No Mercy does require you to play through multiple times in order to build up enough cash to unlock the likes of Shawn Michaels and, well, Mae Young, but you can try and make your way through survival mode to unlock them for free. You're looking at 101 victories in a row to unlock Andre the Giant Mind, but the options are there, I guess, and the sense of reward for being able to choose Vince McMahon and get beaten up by the cat is palpable. 2K18 meanwhile goes for a loot box approach, but not one involving real currency, at least not at the time of making this video. I would not put it past 2K to introduce paid for boxes sometime soon. Anyway, these are unlocked randomly by earning in-game currency, and that same currency can also be used to unlock a solid selection of wrestle people to play as in the game. That's fine. There is paid for DLC though, in the shape of characters and more, so to actually get everything you do need to super kick your wallet all over 2K's face. What absolutely stinks about the DLC though is something called the New Moves Pack. This features things like Ty Dillinger and Cassius Ohno's finishers, and they're people who are actually in the game to begin with. That is, as science folk often say, pretty bloody icky. Our penultimate 9th fall is another closely fought bout with each superstar landing its full repertoire of signatures and finishes. 2K18 is about to finally finish it with a Batista bomb, but then realises it hasn't paid real money for this particular DLC, so No Mercy's Ken Shamrock, earned entirely in-game, hits a low blow and steals it. 4-all. How much I want to play it still. A very important category this. Longevity matters to me, even if these days it is a new wrestling game like clockwork every single year. Back in No Mercy's day, it was a new wrestling game every year. Like clockwork. Huh. Still, no more WWF Aki games were released after the N64 title, so that's the one I've been stuck playing for 17 years. And that's the rub. I have continued to play it for 17 years. I haven't continued to play a recent WWE game for more than 17 weeks, not even 17 days in some cases. 2K18 absolutely falls into this trap with the kind of poor core mechanics on show that just make me bored and want to give up. I'll play it a bit longer, likely after I pick up Elias and can make a video about him going for a walk with someone, but I've pretty much given up on this one already. No Mercy, however, will remain. The 10th and final fall brings to mind Homer the Clown beating the Krusty Burglar up with the cry of "Stop, stop, he's already dead" ringing in our ears. I don't just not want to play 2K18 anymore, I want to set fire to it, but I can't because I own the digital version and that would mean melting my hard drive and so losing everybody's golf. I ain't doing that. 5-4 No Mercy, and that's the last time the bell rings. Overall. So we've looked at every area of the game that matters and have ended up with a score reached fairly, intelligently and free of emotional bias. And so, the final score is something that doesn't matter. WWF No Mercy is a far better game than WWE 2K18, despite what any final scores might say. With that in mind, I'm invoking my Vince McMahon damn it clause and saying screw you to 2K18. No Mercy wins 10-0. And that, friends, is hard science that cannot be argued with. Thanks for watching, please do like, share, subscribe and get the tables. If I ever get a reasonable amount of time, I'll spend it explaining in more detail why all other wrestling games pale in comparison to No Mercy, apart from maybe Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. Bye! Screw you! Screw you! Screw you!